What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Let's See If One Good Turn Deserves Another's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the... what is this called? Siege Megatron. Once again on loan to me from Tyler Peanut F. We looked at the Prime, we know that was pretty good. We're gonna see if this one holds up to the same standard, arguably a new standard, and we're gonna start with accessories. So he has his signature cannon. As you saw in the opening footage, it does peg in with no problem to the arm, and it's just a black sculpt and not a lot of the hollowness issues that we saw on the Ion Blaster, I think is Prime's gun. So it looks a lot better. It's a little skinny, you know, in proportion to his arm, but it's not the biggest deal breaker, just pointing it out. And then he comes with this thing, which is like a sword of sorts. Lots of silver paint and red paint. They did paint these things, which is nice. And it pegs in here or here, depending on your sensibilities. And then these two pieces can actually split, and this can rotate around to the backside, and we'll kind of show how all of that work. And he can hold that just fine, or it can tab into the side of his arm if you'd like. Or you can take the two and kind of line them up and make a super ultra mega weapon. And although not intended, he could probably use that too if you so desired. All right, let's look at the figure. And the first problem I have with this guy right out of the gate is the cuts on the joints. He has to kind of be bent over a bit in order to stand kind of straight. Like the knees don't come forward, and then the angle of the feet don't come forward enough for the feet to be flat on the ground. The knee kind of sits back, or the calf kind of sits back. Then, in order to straighten the calf out, you would need to bring the thigh a bit more forward than this allows. So as a result, if everything is in alignment for the feet to stand straight, he's doing the reverse Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. You know what I mean? Like, that's not good. That's a problem. And to be honest, like, that's the sort of mistakes I do expect this company to make in regards to their Transformer properties. So that was a bit of a bummer right out of the box. The feel is kind of similar. It doesn't feel quite as solid as Prime, but it feels better than some of the stuff we've gotten in the past. Start with the head. I feel like the sculpt isn't as great. I feel like it's a little fat. He's got a little bit of a fat head. And then we got silver paint on the face, red and black paint on the eyes and forehead. Looks good in that regard. Ball peg head, a little bit up, not much down. Swivel, all that kind of works fine. I guess you could break this if you wanted to. I don't know if you'd be able to cheat it or not, but it's a thing. Weathering, kind of the same problem as before. It's a little heavy-handed and then only on the front, which kind of makes it look weird. So I'm not crazy about that. The red paint, blue paint, and yellow paint on the chest all look good. Waist swivel, that works fine. Shoulders, universal, which is nice to see. Gets you up to 90 degrees and then around. No problems there. Bicep swivel is right above the elbow. The elbow itself gets you a 90-degree bend on a single hinge, which is nice. Now, we talked about how some of the hollowness has gone away. It's a little bit more present here. It's there and it's see-through. That's a bummer. The wrist, we just get this hinge here. So we're losing some of the things with this one that I feel like made the Prime sort of stand out. Same for the other side. We do have red paint on the biceps. It's fine. We have universal joints for hips. That gets you out to there for the full Van Damme. Get the backpack out of the way. Full Monty, no problem. Thigh swivel. That works fine. And knee on a single hinge. That gets you 90 degrees, so that works fine. The weathering is a little heavy on the calves as well. However, it doesn't look as bad and as unsightly as it does in some of the other places. This is one of the better jobs I've seen between the two. Ankles, you do have... oh, I thought you did anyway. Maybe I was wrong. Nope, you just have this hinge here for a heel spur. And then you have an ankle rocker, which is nice. And then a little bit of silver paint on the foot. So, look, this one's not terrible, but in terms of action figure and some of the problems that have plagued the Hasbro Transformers in the past, this, while maybe an improvement, still kind of feels like business as usual. Size comparison wise, once again, not as impressive as the Prime to me. The proportions don't seem as well constructed. The legs seem a little short on Megatron to me, where the arms seem a little long on Silverbolt, but it still doesn't seem as solid and as perfectly kind of done as Prime does. But there he is with an old school Voyager, or old school Combiner Wars, and a Deluxe. there he is with the Prime, and I mean, I think they scale well together, but I think it's also obvious that Prime looks a lot better. The characterization comes through a lot more. And then there it is with the MMC Megatron, and kind of the same situation as before. I'm not sure that these will work with the modern day kind of third-party chug landscape. So let's get him transformed. Take these two things that are sitting on his back and rotate them forward, and then you can also rotate the hands in, and then you want to turn this gun around so that it's sitting to the opposite side of his arm. On his back, open up this whole backpack here and rotate the arms to the inside, and then this will tab together so that the gun is sort of locking the two pieces into the center. Open up your tank treads and then rock this whole thing down and in so that it sits sort of underneath the shoulders and the head is sitting flush. Take this piece and you want to fold it down. There's two tabs. They lock into corresponding slots on the inside of the tracks. There and there. Rotate the waist 180. Then the legs. So open up these two pieces here. Use your full Van Damme. Rotate this down. And then you want to kind of combiner wars from the thigh swivel in while keeping this universal joint straight, which due to tolerances is a little bit challenging, but not the biggest deal in the world. Close this back up and peg that in, and do the same on this side. And then you want to keep that joint. There you go. Tab it in. And that's the upper leg secured. And then you just collapse the heels and then rotate the foot down. I'll clean them up. We'll take a look at them. And here it is. Rolls. No issues there. It's not, once again, it's kind of not as solid. And maybe I haven't done something quite right, but like, I feel like this doesn't lock in really. And then the ankles have a tendency to want to kind of jut out. But I think that visually it's more successful than Prime, and I think that the weathering kind of works pretty well, more so than Prime did. But yeah, I mean, these sorts of things are this tank is always a little bit more suggestive, right? This whole turret does turn, which I found surprising. Like, I just didn't picture that to be something that was going to happen. But yeah, I think it works well enough, I suppose. I like it more than robot mode, and there it is next to Tiger Tracks. And negatives-wise, this guy has a few more than Optimus did. The articulation's a little bit more limited at the wrist, at the head. The proportions aren't as accurate as Optimus. A lot of the problems that have kind of plagued this line with hollowness and all those sorts of things don't seem as clean on this one as they did on Optimus. Subjectively, the aesthetics of his head and proportions of his body don't quite work as well, so it just doesn't look as good. Doesn't have the same solid feel either. Plus it has the weathering all throughout the body, which you kind of know how I feel about. It's just like their heart's in the right place. It's just not done extremely well. There are positives though. We're seeing more paint than we normally do. The engineering is different and interesting for both, honestly. Even though the Optimus kind of relies on a lot of the G1 method, it's still something interesting about it. Another thing that's worth noting is that this line really isn't relying on gimmicks. It has gimmicks, and they are incorporated into it, but it's not relying on it like it always has, which is nice to see. But yeah, ultimately, this one just doesn't have the same kind of charming elements that the Optimus does, and as a result, feels a lot closer to business as usual than it does with anything kind of feeling special about this line, which is sort of what I've been hearing. But not a bad figure. If you're in for the line, it's probably worth picking up. Just know that this one is not as strong as perhaps some of their other offerings that they're releasing simultaneously. But thanks to Tyler, let me take a look at them, and thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.